Look, I'm not one against the common kitchen wall. Not speaking, not eating. Just observing us cooking and laughing. I thought, probably some former university employee. But then, dramatic pause. One night I looked out my bedroom window and she was standing in the middle of the street, staring right at me. 1 a.m., 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and there she was in a thin dress, completely still. Without thinking, I waved, whispered, "Worst mistake of my life." In the following days, she started appearing everywhere, in the hallway outside my door. Once I found my things moved around. Then one night, I heard it. T-A-P, 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 coming from my closet. I grabbed a baseball bat, took a deep breath. Long pause. And when I opened the door, sudden intensity. She was there, standing with one of my ties around her neck and a knife in her hand. Her eyes didn't look human anymore. We fought, she bit me, screamed nonsense, until my housemates came. When police arrived, they discovered the worst part. Slow, ominous delivery. She had my room key, and that wasn't all she was hiding. Know who Luciana really was? The landlord's sister. He hid her there because of her severe mental illness, rather than pay for treatment. Sarcastic. Great idea, right? Why did she choose me? Whispered. I still don't know. But one thing's certain. Firm. I never left my door unlocked again. So, what would you have done in my place? Comment below. And if you think this story was intense, just wait until next time. Have you ever had that nagging feeling that something isn't quite right about your neighbor? That prickling at the back of your neck that tells you to double-check your locks before bed? I'm Dona Marta, and what I'm about to share will make you see your street in a whole new light. This is the complete story of Daniel and Larissa, a tale that begins as a simple neighbor moving in and ends with dark secrets, stalking, and danger hiding in plain sight. When Daniel moved into house number 42, he seemed like the perfect neighbor. A young man around 25, always well-dressed, driving a spotless white BMW. He worked in digital marketing, something I never quite understood, but which clearly paid well. For the first few months, he was delightful. Brought us cake on moving day, helped my husband Carlos carry groceries, even discussed investments with us. But soon I began noticing peculiarities. First, the packages. They always arrived in the dead of night, between 2 and 3 a.m., large, heavy boxes that he carried inside himself with excessive care. Then the nighttime habits. He'd turn off all the lights but leave the TV on until the early hours, that pulsing blue glow behind the curtains. And then, 3 months after he moved in, she appeared. Larissa, a blonde woman about 23, always in short dresses and high heels, driving a white convertible. The first time I saw her, she was inside Daniel's house. This on a Tuesday at 11 a.m. when I knew he was away on business in Sao Paulo. I stood frozen on my porch, knitting needles suspended midair, watching this stranger move calmly through his living room, touching his things. She had a key. In the weeks that followed, a sinister pattern emerged. The moment Daniel left, the white car would appear. Larissa would enter, stay for hours, then leave carrying bags and boxes. Once I risked waving as she passed. She returned a smile that never reached her eyes, and I felt a chill run down my spine. That's when the real trouble began. One night I woke to loud voices coming from his house. It was Larissa, screaming things I couldn't make out while objects shattered inside. The next day I noticed all his curtains had been removed. When I tried talking to Daniel about it, he seemed genuinely confused. He didn't know who I was talking about. So I decided to confront Larissa directly. It was the biggest mistake of my life. When I knocked on her car window that Friday morning, I saw something that took my breath away. The passenger seat was covered in photos, photos of me, taken through my windows while I cooked, read, slept, and on the dashboard, hanging from a heart-shaped keychain, an exact copy of my house key. That night was the longest of my life. Around 3 a.m., I heard the unmistakable sound of someone forcing my back door. When police searched Larissa's car, they found a journal detailing everyone's schedules on our Street 5 stolen phones, each filled with intimate photos and videos, and in an envelope addressed to me, a photo of myself sleeping, with that night's date written in red. Daniel disappeared the following week. We never saw him again. Larissa was arrested but served only 2 years for trespassing. And me? I changed all my locks, installed security cameras, and haven't been able to look at a parked white car without feeling sick to my stomach. Because here's the terrifying truth. Danger doesn't always come from strangers in the dark. It comes from that friendly neighbor, that polite young man, the person you greet every morning without knowing they spend nights watching your habits, studying your routine, waiting for the perfect moment to, well, you'll never know until it's too late.